I'm starting the webinar, so you'll hear the sound in a minute. So we are live now.
Yeah. Welcome all today evening. We are privileged to have this INA technical session. This is second session of 2022, where I welcome all who have joined us on the seminar on development of shipbuilding and repair facilities in the East Coast, factors and challenges. I would like to welcome the chief guest for today, Professor Sannasiraj, IIT Madras, who was consented to chair the session, who's considered to be the chief guest of the session. And the session chair for today would be Admiral Baburaj. And the lecture would be given by Mr. Sanil Peter, DGM Cochin Shipyard. I welcome you also. And I also welcome the president of INA, Mr. J. Dasgupta, and all who have joined from various places around the globe to join this interesting lecture topic. With this welcome, I would wish to introduce Admiral Baburaj, Rear Admiral C.S. Baburaj, Vishisht Seva Medal, is now Assistant Chief of Material, Dockyard and Refits, and is an alumnus of the Naval College of Engineering, Loravla, and was commissioned into the Indian Navy on 5th of November 1987. He is the flag officer is an alumni of the 57th DSSC. He has held various challenging appointments in his career spanning over 34 years. His afloat appointments include Engineering Officer of Indian Naval SDBT, Indian Naval Minesweeper, and Indian Naval Frigate, and Senior Engineer of Fleet Tanker. Apart from the afloat appointment, he also held challenging appointments, which includes Instructor at INS Shivaji, Deputy and Senior Manager at Naval Dockyard, Mumbai, Chief Engineer Officer at Headquarters, Mumbai, Commodore Superintendent of Yard at NSRB, Karwar, and at various capacities at Naval Headquarters in New Delhi. In recognition of his distinguished services, the Admiral was awarded the Vishisht Seva Medal. As in his current appointment as ACOM D&R, the Admiral is in charge of all aspects related to maintenance management and life cycle product support of all equipment and systems for ships and submarines, and creation of major marine and technical infrastructure. He was promoted to flag rank on 28 January 20, upon which he took over his present appointment of ACOM D&R. The Admiral enjoys cycling, trekking, traveling, and visiting new places. He keeps abreast of the latest technological developments in the navies around the world and also possesses keen interest in the field of world events. With this introduction of the session chair, I would request now the session chair to take over this session of the introduction of naval tactics, please. Admiral Baburaj, sir, now you can take over the session.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. BBS Iyengar. Firstly, I must thank the Institute of Naval Architects as well as Dr. BBS Iyengar for having invited me to join this very, very interesting session. I would also like to thank Chairman INA for having given the opportunity to me. From the Indian Navy side, we are really interested in looking at the development of shipbuilding and repair facilities in the East Coast as well as West Coast, actually. And this particular topic, which is going to be covered by Mr. Sanil Peter of Cochin Shipyard, is of great interest to all of us. Dr. Dasgupta, Chairman, Institute of Naval Architects. The chief guest for today, Dr. S.S. Sannasiraj, the speaker, Mr. Sanil Peter, as well as all the attendees on this virtual seminar. Wish you a very good afternoon. It's my proud privilege to introduce Dr. S.S. Sannasiraj. He is the Currently, he is the chairman of engineering unit at IIT Madras. He's held various appointments in the Department of Ocean Engineering at IIT Madras over the last decade or so. He is also the chairman of Ocean Engineering section of the IEEE Madras chapter, Executive Council member of the Asia Pacific Division of IAHR from 2019, area coordinator of water management of the Indo-German Center for Sustainability. He is a founding director of Samudra Consultants. It's an incubate company from the IIT Madras. He specialized in the design of coastal and harbor structures, wind wave modeling, breaking wave impact, FEM, SPH modeling of nonlinear free surface waves. He's been the advisor for a large number of PhD theses, numbering over 18. He sponsored large number of research projects. He's completed over 250 industrial projects, no mean achievement. He's peer-reviewed over 110 journals. He's authored a number of books, and he also holds 2 patents in this field. He's a recipient of a number of awards in the last 10 years itself. He's been awarded the DAAD fellowship from Germany. He's received the Indian Maritime Award in 2005-2006, Endeavour India Executive Award from the Australian government in 2007, Fulbright Nehru Senior Research Fellowship in 2011, the Institution Prize by the Indian Engineering Congress for a technical paper in 2015. He is also the fellow and member of various professional bodies. We could not have asked for a more eminent chief guest for today's session. I welcome Chief Guest Professor S.A. Sannasiraj to this session. Coming to the speaker for today, Mr. Sanil Peter. He is the Deputy General Manager at the Cochin Shipyard. He is a naval architect with over 25 years of experience with leading shipyards in India, Far East, Australia, and Middle East in engineering, operations, planning, and project management. He received his Bachelor of Technology degree in Naval Architecture and Shipbuilding from Cochin University of Science and Technology. He holds professional membership in as a chartered engineer registered with UK Engineering Council. He is a fellow of RAdm, member of Society of Naval Architects and Marine Engineers. He is also the fellow of Institute of Marine Engineers, where I also have a membership. He started his career as a senior engineer in the design department in Mazagon Dock Limited, one of our premier naval shipbuilding dockyards in the country. He is presently working at the Cochin Shipyard Limited at Kochi as a deputy general manager. He is responsible for Kolkata and Andaman ship repair units of CSL. He served as the site in charge during the construction and modernization of Hooghly Cochin Shipyard Limited at Kolkata. He will be covering some part of that in his talk today. He has worked with various agencies, including Dry Docks World Dubai. I'm sure he's going to present us a very interesting lecture on a topic which, in the current scenario, assumes very large importance. Development of shipbuilding and repair facilities, specifically on the eastern coast of the country. With that, can I request Mr. Sanil Peter to commence his talk?
Thank you, Admiral, for the kind words. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank Institution of Naval Architects for giving me chance to present this particular paper. But this is basically about my experience with the shipbuilding and ship repair facility developments in Kolkata. And briefly, I'll be touching upon the ship repair facility coming up in Pandu and also the marine dockyard in Port Blair. We'll first go through introduction regarding the Indian maritime sector. The Indian shipping industry, as you all know, plays a crucial role in the transport sector, and 90% of the country's international trade is by sea. And if you consider the trade by volume, 95% of countries trade by volume and 68% of trade by value is through marine transport. And based on the annual report published by the Ministry of Shipping, India has around 1,429 ships, and the average age of the vessels are 19.9 years. This table gives us a picture about the number of vessels, the GRT and the deadweight. So as on 2019, financial year 2019, the number of vessels is 1429, and the GRT is as given in the screen. So our fleet is approximately 20 years old. The average age of our vessels are around 20 years. Now we'll just go through the history of shipyards along Hooghly River. The marine trade in India dates back to 3rd millennium, where inhabitants of Indus Valley civilization started trading with Mesopotamia. And though Bengal had a long tradition of shipbuilding, direct evidence in shipbuilding is very rare. We always talk about the western region, Mumbai and all. The direct evidence of shipbuilding in Bengal region started in the 16th century when large Portuguese vessels started coming to Betur, and it was fed by smaller vessels from Sadgaon. In 1570, Portuguese shifted their factories from Sadgaon to Hooghly, and Hooghly became replaced Sadgaon as a principal commercial outlet in the marine transport. Shipping facilities in Calcutta started with the establishment of Calcutta Port Commissioners in 1870, and this coincided with the completion of a railway network in India. And this had a new thrust in India's international trade. Around 18th century, mid of 18th century, absence of a docking facility became a major concern, because always the vessels plying in the eastern region, for any repair, they had to take it back to Mumbai because the repair facility was already available in Mumbai. So in 1790, a first dock was built at Bangshal Ghat, which is somewhere near to the Prince of Ghat and all. And Colonel Watson commenced the construction of a wet dock in Kedapur in 1780s. But this was unfortunately abandoned due to some legal disputes. And later on, Chandan Nagar, Titagra, Salkia, Howrah, Shibpur, Kedapur, and Calcutta, they became the main shipbuilding locations during the British era. And this is one of the British era chart of Hooghly River dating back to 1794. Coming to Hooghly Docks and Port Engineers, Hooghly Docks and Port Engineers, which is popularly known as HTPL, is one of the oldest shipyards in India. It was established in 1819 as a private sector shipyard, and it was known as a Hooghly Docking and Engineering Company Limited. It was later on merged with the Port Engineering Works, a part of Andrew Yule Company, and it became HTPL. HTPL has two units, one in Nazirganj and the other one in Salkia, on either side of the Hooghly River, Hooghly Bridge. And the capacity of shipbuilding ranges up to 1,100 tons per annum. They have built various varieties of vessels like tugs, dredgers, floating dry docks, trawlers, barges, smaller cargo vessels, etc. And the clients included IWA, ONGC, Paradip Port Trust, Andaman Administration, and all. Still, the Kalighat is one of the vessels which was built by, I think, one of the last vessels built by HTPL. And HTPL was operational till 1980s, and later on it ran into financial problems, and then it was under the administrative control of the ministry. Calcutta Port Trust is one of the oldest ports in India. In 1820, shipbuilding was mostly concentrated on Sulkia, which is now called known as Salkia, and also in Howrah and Kidapo. In 1892, Kidapo docks, popularly known as KPD, was completed, and 1925 Garden Reach Jetty was added to accommodate the increased cargo trade. Later on in 1928, King George Dock, which is now known as Netaji Subhash Dock, where we are operating our ship repair unit. Cochin Shipyard Ship Repair, Calcutta Ship Repair Unit is operating from there. It was commissioned in 1928, and in 1973, it was renamed as Netaji Subhash Dock, NSD. Incidentally, Calcutta Port Trust has the largest dry docking facility in India when we consider all the ports. There are 5 dry docks, 3 in Kidapo Dock and 2 in Netaji Subhash Dock. And in NSD, there are 14 berths, 2 mooring buoys, and 2 dry docks, NSDD 1 and 2. After independence, the importance of port activities in the Calcutta region, it declined, mainly due to partition of Bengal, reduction in the size of the port hinterlands, and the economic slowdown in the eastern India. Both the dry docks at NSD and KPD were underutilized. Still, KPD was somehow being utilized by Coast Guard and other private players, but NSD was idling for last around 10-12 years. Around the time of 2004, it was handled by private players, but after that it was totally abandoned, and then later on ministry had instructed Cochin Shipyard to take it over and make it operational. That's how the CKSRU, which is CSL Kolkata Ship Repair Unit, started operating. This is a picture of Calcutta Port in early 1800s. GRSC's origin, one of the other major shipbuilding ship repair yard is a GRSC, as you all know. Its history dates back to 1884, and it was later on incorporated as a Garden Reach Workshop Limited in 1934. Originally, the Reverse Stream Navigation Company, RSNC, this was a company registered in London. They were setting up inland transport trade between Calcutta and other banks of Hooghly, Ganges, and Brahmaputra rivers. In 1884, a workshop was established along the banks of the Hooghly, and during the World War time, there were a lot of activities. Around 4,000 naval vessels and merchant vessels were constructed, converted, and repaired in this particular facility. In 1960, GRSC became a central PSU, as you know, one of the leading defense shipyards now. And over the 6 decades, GRSC has built around 788 platforms, including various types of ships for Indian Navy and Coast Guard. Now, when we are finalizing a location for any shipbuilding or ship repair yard, there are various factors and challenges, and the factors can be either subjective or objective. The major factors are infrastructure facilities. What are the infrastructure facilities available there? Transportation factors, whether it is well connected by air, road, by water, energy supply factors, environmental factors, finance and tax factors. What is the government policy regarding taxation, whether any free zone facilities are given or not, utility services, competitiveness, regional properties, etc. All these factors can be further divided into sub-factors like transportation. We already discussed. Both Calcutta and Howrah are well connected by rail, road, river, and air. Even then, when we started developing the Nasirganj facility of Hooghly docks, the people who has visited Hooghly docks Nasirganj facility, maybe they can connect with it. That particular facility is in a congested area. The road is very congested. So we, before starting the development, we had a truck trial, a maneuverability trial, just to check whether it is possible to bring trailers during the night time or not, whether the maneuverability is possible or not. And uninterrupted power supply is key to any industrial facility, and shipyard processes like welding, cutting, all these things require power supply. And West Bengal is considered as one of power surplus states. And availability of oxygen, whether it is oxygen, acetylene, or nitrogen, they are easily available either in the form of by trucks or in gas bottles. It is availability is not a problem there. When we consider the climatic conditions, Calcutta region is semi-prone to natural disasters like cyclones and earthquake. It falls under seismic zone 3. Although Calcutta region was badly affected by recent cyclone Amphan, generally this region is considered not prone to cyclonic activities. At the same time, during the period of March and September, in Hooghly River, there is a phenomenon called bow tide. So during this time, the vessel maneuverability and movement has to be taken care. So this is restricted movements are there. Then another factor is availability of skill set, whether it is unskilled labor, semi-skilled or skilled. This is one of the major cost item in any of the shipbuilding or ship repair. In Calcutta region, it is supposed to be cheaply available, but from our experience, it says that it is not that cheap because most of the laborers in West Bengal is now either in Kerala or other sides of the country. So it's very difficult to get a skilled workers cheaply. Most of the laborers we are getting it from UP, Bihar, and Orissa nowadays. And proximities of institutes like IIT Kharagpur, IEST Shipur, and other engineering colleges and Jadavpur University. This ensures that we have a availability of skilled manpower, and also they give us consultancy services for allied with the shipbuilding and ship repair. For a shipbuilding or ship repair facility to be successful, we need support of suppliers, subcontractors, and other industries. We normally go with a turnkey subcontract model, keeping only a minimum staff as a key operational staff. It's a turnkey subcontract model, what we are following nowadays. And factors like suppliers, general industries are also favorable in Calcutta region. There are many steel mills in the close visibility. In Jharkhand, there are steel suppliers, so getting steel materials is not an issue. And Calcutta and Howrah used to be a maritime hub in 19th century. Although now the glory has faded off, there are so many marine workshops who are willing to come up if support is given, and we are trying to develop the ecosystem there. And attitude of the local community is one of the important things when we are setting up a shipbuilding or ship repair unit. A positive way of acceptance, or whether a negative sentiments or disagreement of having a shipyard in the region is very important. And as you know, we need to get a lot of legal permissions and approvals from several authorities. When we established Hooghly Cochin Shipyard, we had taken around 15 approvals from various local authorities and statutory agencies directly. And all the agencies, including the local government, was very supportive. In fact, all the approvals were taken directly by Shipyard, not through any agents. Then another factor is the business and social political climate. Establishing a shipyard in a business in existing infrastructure will be much easier compared to a place where there is no business mentality. And the attitude of the local people eager to know latest technologies in ship repair or shipbuilding, we are trying to introduce new technologies like robotics and things like that. Whether the local laborers are familiar with that, they are ready to learn that, ready to adapt it. That is one of the major factors. And under the stressful conditions, how the local community will be responding, that is another factor which is to be studied. And establishing a shipyard in a location having its own political problems, whether it is political instability or terrorism, this also increases the risk of investment. And when a new facility comes up, there will be, of course, labor immigrations, and this can lead to cultural differences with the local society. And for any business to be successful, the competent people whom we engage, that is one of the major factors. And we always look for an optimum manning plan for the new yards, and lean manufacturing principles are always adopted these days. There are few challenges which we faced during the development of Hooghly Cochin Shipyard. One is a fluctuating draft restriction of the channel, the Hooghly River channel and the lock system, assessment of existing facilities, introduction of safety quality standards in a place where it is not very familiar, and security threat and the COVID-19 related slowdown has also affected everything. Fluctuating draft, the depth of the river channel is directly proportional to operational flexibility. Hooghly River channel has an unpredictable and fluctuating draft. The maximum draft, what Porters highlights, is 6.5 meters. So we also tell our clients that vessels up to 6.5 meter draft can be easily brought in. Being a riverine port, it depends highly on the high tide for smooth movement of vessels. So only during the high tide, vessel movements are happening through the Hooghly River. Then another restriction is the channel on the lock. The channel floods twice a day, and it brings a lot of sand from the estuary. Siltation is a major problem there. Because of that, dredging has to be done on frequent basis, and it's a expensive affair. And nowadays, government subsidies also considerably reduced. And the lock gate in both NSD and KPD, they are almost 100 years old. It still works perfectly, but it's 100 years old. And there is a restriction with respect to the maximum width of the vessels. So the bigger vessels with longer beams cannot enter. So there is a restriction regarding the vessel size and the draft. And other restrictions, what we identified during the assessment is water channel in front of the Sannasiraj facility is supposed to be a turning circle. That is exactly in front of the GRSE and Hooghly docks. So that is supposed to be a turning circle and an anchorage point. So finalizing the location for the jetties, we had to consider all these factors. And limited width of the HTPL Sannasiraj facility was also a challenge. Because in order to ensure the proper slope of the slipway, the limited width of the plot was a restriction. And on the banks of Hooghly River, there are restrictions on permanent concession. So we had to take approvals from Calcutta Porters and other agencies. And Howrah Bridge also poses a restriction because there is an air draft restriction of 9 meters. So this mainly affects the Salkia unit. So the vessels which are going to the other side, you might have noticed there are vessels which are having foldable type of mast. Well, that is because of this reason. Then introducing a quality safety system, which we normally follow at Cochin Shipyard. In a place like Calcutta, where they are not very used to this kind of a safety culture, it was initially quite a bit of a challenge. When we started our ship repair operations, it was difficult for us to convince the local laborers to wear proper PPEs. But now, after frequent educations, frequent induction programs, they are also coming line and they are also following all the safety systems. HTPL and NSD, as you know, these are located in a densely populated areas where there are public jetties close to it. NSD, there is a jetty there, and HTPL, Sannasiraj jetties nearby. And there are so many public guards also there, which where local people perform religious rituals and all. And though Netaji Subhash Dock is inside the ISPS area, being a port area, and guarded by CSF, the threat perception was high, basically because of the demographic nature of the area. And because of this, we have conducted a security audit by CSF, and the security systems are designed accordingly. There was a preliminary assessment done. Initially, a feasibility study was done. The condition of the existing infrastructure facilities was analyzed. Economic analysis of the project. Then the business models were studied. Market assessment was carried out. And the initial assessments included bathymetry survey, topography survey, soil investigation, and all kind of initial assessments. And the equipment life, Hooghly docks and Netaji Subhash dock, these are 100 years, 200 years old yards and facilities. And most of the equipments, even the main discharge pump in the NSD is 100 years old, and it is brought from England. It is still working in perfect condition. So all the equipments which were there in Hooghly docks and NSD, we had to do a equipment life analysis. If you take the equipment life, normally it can be divided into three stages. Economic life, where a new machine takes some time to earn or cover the initial capital cost what we are investing on. Then comes the profit life, where the running cost, the operating cost, or the maintenance cost is less compared to the work actually it can do. So that is a profit life. And the physical life and the life of the machine finishes when maintaining the equipment. The cost of maintaining the equipment is more than what it earns. So all the equipments in Netaji Subhash Dock and Hooghly docks were analyzed, and in the Hooghly docks, all the equipments were disposed of. In Netaji Subhash Dock, the main MDP penstock system, the deck cranes are all. We did the health audit, and then repairs were done, and then it is in working condition. And later on, there was a DPR, detailed project report done for Hooghly docks. Additional surveys were done, and it was decided that the development will be done in a phased manner. So as a first stage, we had done the development of Nasirganj facility, and Salkia will be doing at a later stage. So it included a refurbishment of the existing end launch facility, and a new side launch facility will be coming up in the next stage. And demolition of all the facilities, all the shops, all the buildings were demolished, and then new facilities has to be brought in. The only heavy machine shop is the only building which was retained and repaired, and then now it is being used as a new assembly bay. Additional jetties are constructed. Earlier there was only one jetty. Now Hooghly Cochin Shipyard is having 3 jetties. One more will be coming at later stage, and sub-assembly and grand assembly bays are also having sufficient craneage. Coming to NSD, NSD is consisting of 2 dry docks, NSD dock 1 and dock 2. Each dry dock is 565 feet long and 75 feet width. And penstock system is used for flooding. There were issues with the penstock system, so we had to do some repairs. But after the repair, it is working properly. And it is served by 2 MDPs, each of capacity 33,000 gallons per minute. And it is operated by a box caisson, and there is provision for a belly caisson in case of an emergency. And both the docks are divided into separate docks by an intermediate caisson. There was a performance assessment carried out where all the equipments were operated, and then the shortfalls were noted, and then accordingly the repairs were done. The dock strength analyses and further development plans are jointly done with IITs and Jadavpur University. The market analysis, Jalmarg Vikas project, which is estimated to be pumping in around 500 crores into the augmentation and navigation NW1. And also there are so many developments coming in northeastern region. Towards this, Cochin Shipyard itself has delivered around 10 RoPax vessels to IWA, out of which 8 are being used in Calcutta and Brahmaputra area. Movement of passengers and cruise service on coastal and protocol routes are started between India and Bangladesh. One of the vessel which capsized day before yesterday, that is belonging to Bangladesh and coming to port under this protocol early. Although the ship repair market is around $20 billion, India's share is considerably less. It's up to 1% only, and 7 to 9% the global trade is passing within 300 nautical miles of Indian coastline. So there is a room for ship repair and shipbuilding. We can increase our share with facility augmentation and all. And there is no organized ship repair activities in the eastern region except in Visakhapatnam and Chennai. And as I told earlier, the protocol route between India and Bangladesh, which is going to bring a lot of maritime activities between India and Bangladesh. So this is one of the how Cochin Shipyard is expanding into. So originally it was only at Cochin, and now we have ISRF, which is International Ship Repair Facilities, Cochin Port Trust. Then on Mumbai, Hughes Dock was taken over, and it is now working as a CMSRU. And in Calcutta region, we have Hooghly Cochin Shipyard and Kolkata Ship Repair Unit. And one more is coming, which is the Pandu Ship Repair Facility, which is coming in near to Guwahati. And Andaman, the Marine Dockyard, Port Blair, the operations of Marine Dockyard has been taken over. And a recent addition is the Tebma Shipyard in Udupi, which has been taken over by Cochin Shipyard. So this is a bird's eye view of Hooghly Cochin Shipyard Limited, which is ready for operation now. So we have divided into operational phase and expansion phase. Expansion phase is nothing but I mentioned earlier the side launch facility, which you can see on the left hand corner. So that will be coming up in the expansion phase, and followed up by the Salkia unit. The existing end launch facility has been refurbished, and a project cost is approximately 150 crores. And once the project is completed with the side launch facility, we can handle up to vessels of ranging from 100 to 120 meters length. The unit is ready for operation, and we are waiting for official confirmation for PM's office for inauguration. In the meantime, all the certification has been done. The capacity assessment has been completed by Indian Navy and Coast Guard. This is the condition of the facilities in the Hooghly docks when it was taken over for the redevelopment. So all the workshops were in dilapidated conditions, and this is a picture during the developmental stage, and this is how it looks now. These are the various shops, new jetties, gantry cranes for assembly area, sub-assembly area, grand assembly area. And Netaji Subhash Dock, the picture on the left, this was the condition when the dock was taken over. There was trees growing inside the dock. There was around 1.5 feet of mud, and then grass as tall as one person, and then few trees were also inside. And after taking over, within 6 months time, we did the docking of the first vessel. And this particular facility is jointly promoted by CSL and Calcutta Port Trust, and the agreement is for 30 years on a profit share basis. We started operations in October 2019, and we plan to invest approximately 50 crores in the first 5 years. And as of today, there are 500 persons directly employed on daily basis in CKSRU. This is the timeline of vessels. We have repaired, started with the INS Kavarati, then Great Ship Vidya. Switzer Foxtrot is one of the vessels belonging to Maersk Group. Then Sarojini is a Calcutta Port Trust survey vessel. Then Daring Andaman vessel, Dredger. Right now, Sentinel, MV Sentinel of Andaman, and Dredge 15 are undergoing repairs at NSD. So far, we have completed 8 repair projects, and the revenue what we have generated since commencement of operation 2019 is 55 crores. These are some of the vessels what we repaired in the facility. And coming to Marine Dockyard, Port Blair. Marine Dockyard is a government dockyard which was operated by Directorate of Shipping Services, Andaman Administration. So the agreement was signed between CSL and administration for development and upgradation of the facility. We will be basically doing the manning and management of ship repair operations. Along with that, there will be an ecosystem development, skill development, and also a modernization of the yard. We are right now working on a DPR on the modernization of the Marine Dockyard. And this is a ship repair facility which is coming up in Pandu. Basically, all the inland waterway vessels which are operated in Assam, Guwahati, Brahmaputra River, there is no proper organized ship repair facility in that area. They had to come all the way to Calcutta to do the repair. So ship repair facility is being finalized in Pandu. The DPR is being prepared, and IIT Madras is the consultant and the PMC for the project. So this is the layout. So it will be basically having ship lift and transfer facility. And these are the main features. Boat hoist is 700 tons, and the boat hoist spire is 60 meters and 15 meters. The maximum size of the vessel is 60 meters. So this gives a rough idea about the facilities which will be coming up in Pandu. So with all these facilities coming up, Hooghly Cochin Shipyard Limited will be mostly concentrating on the shipbuilding side of it, and the CKSRU and CANSRU in Port Blair. These units will be basically concentrating on the ship repair, and so is Pandu for the smaller vessels or the inland waterway vessels. So all these facilities will be boosting the maritime activities in the eastern region, and we are sincerely hoping that there will be a lot of activities coming up, and the development ecosystem will be totally developed. The lost glory of Calcutta and Howrah, who used to be a hub of maritime activities in the 19th century, they can revive it, and a proper ecosystem can be developed in the eastern coast. Thank you.
Yeah, Sanil.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have finished with this, can I request the chief guest, Dr. Sannasiraj, to kindly deliver his address to the audience, and beyond that, we'll take the question and answer session, where I would request again the speaker, Mr. Sanil Peter, to probably cover the question answers. There are already a few questions which has appeared in the chat box. May I request Dr. Sannasiraj to give us a talk on the subject.
Thank you, Rear Admiral Baburaj. So first, I thank INA for inviting me to this webinar. And okay, it's at the topic of today's lecture is very much essential. So not only this part, but over that last many decades, there's a need for development in this sector. And so, of course, the increasing the sea trade, which is definitely not avoidable in the view of water transport is very efficient. So due to many positive factors, and so then of course the world wars accelerated our water movement, navigation around the water, and of course that has helped us also to grow faster is in the maritime sectors for navigation and other things. So coming to India, we have 12 plus major ports. So there are a lot of major ports are also in the development, in particular Andhra Pradesh. They are coming up quite fast. And apart from that, we have more than 200 minor ports. And so these definitely necessitate for us navigating vessel and offshore platforms, which we need to build and maintain. So it's not only the building, and there's a maintenance also required. So nowadays our so-called shipyards. So it's not only navigating vessels, we are also doing in offshore platforms and say even the floating radar also we are fitting it in our shipyards. And so the shipbuilding industry, if overall, if we see, it was the baby of European countries those days, then slowly shifted to South Korea, to Japan, and now to the China. So they are the pioneering. And all this shift is majorly due to the manpower. So keeping in that view, we should harvest it, this industry, or keeping in, of course, our manpower cost is, I should not say that it's less now. Our manpower cost also tremendously been going up, but still we can compete definitely with our Japan and European countries, if not on China in this aspect. So probably the day is not far away for us. And now coming to that infrastructure for the ship repair or shipyard, and particularly the dry dock. Dry docking is an essential thing. And it's coming from a slipway, and it's a major, like a graving dry dock, and for the shipbuilding, and also for ship repair. And we are also thinking of like a more on ship lift, say like Pandu, what the CSL is doing in the recent days. So I think now we have more than 30 shipyards in both government and public and private sectors in India, and most of the nearly 2/3 are along the west coast. So it's a very few in along east coast, and that also in particular concentrated on the northern regions, so Kolkata, with Vizag and Kakinada, and Chennai is so hardly we are looking for betterment only in the recent years. So there is a definitely need for many shipyards along east coast also. Yes, our navigating vessels, we cannot fly from one region to another region only for maintenance, and we are looking at the requirement of our vessels. So not only for large ocean going vessels, which is catering for overseas and also for our coastal trade, and also we need to cater for the many medium-sized vessels, particularly for the port crafts, our fishing trawlers, and many offshore vessels, and IWT inland waterways, smaller crafts. All those things we need to cater for that. And of course, there's another broad sector. Most of our shipyards are also catering for the defense naval crafts, and also of course the Coast Guard vessels. So, and of course, at present, only Cochin Shipyard can handle more than 1 lakh delivery vessel, and I think Sanil Petri has projected 1.25 lakh delivery. All other shipyards can handle 80,000. That's also, I think, only one, or all are much below 60,000 deliveries as of today. And now, at present, as of course, the Sanil Peter's lecture gives us the broad picture, and many of the things are many decades old, if not century. And so most of the docks need rehabilitation and retrofitting. And fortunately, I can say, being my expertise domain, most of the things are kind of a gravity type structure, but the lock gates is really a challenging part. And that needs, even for rehabilitation and retrofitting, it's really a challenge. And if you want to build up a new thing, our experience in recent Cochin Shipyard, the present ongoing project on the new dry dock, even to design that covered dam, there was a quite challenge, soil conditions. Of course, the same thing we also experienced in the GRSC also. At present, I don't think whether they are not taken up, I think. And so these are the quite challenges before us, in front of us, even for the existing facilities, even in addition to development of the new facilities. And of course, the recent one, what we are talking about, the mostly on the ship lift system. Of course, there is a limitation. We cannot go for the larger vessels to handle in the ship lift system. And the domain of, even for retrofitting rehabilitation, if you are going for one aspect is highlighted in our Hookley system, is the maintenance of the turning circle and its approach channel. And there are so many studies related to that. and for the new development, starting from the wave and hydrodynamic, which is of course related to that siltation, and then impact nowadays environmental impact assessment, which is sort of highly influencing the factors in the design too, like impact on the seabed as well as also the coastline, in addition to our water quality parameters, what are the things to be done, etc., etc. All these things leads to the even to decide on the what's the type of facility or planning that we are going to take it up, even before we take it up with the actual structural design and the all machinery design, etc. Now in this Pondu, we have been also part of the development of the Pondu system, and of course the at present Sanil Peter can also acknowledge it, and the cost is one of the major factor which is hindering us for the actual development of the 700 ton, and also the limiting our factors. This actually, this design is yet to be completed. We might go for very limiting the phase 1 or phase 2, phase 3 development, etc., which needs, if say for example, what's envisaged is X amount, but actually is coming to 3X, and that we might need for in the phase development. And so all these challenges are there, and given the requirement is the vast in front of us, but the challenges are much more than in the actual system. Say many of the structures, while we assess in the Cochin Shipyard, and the factor of safety, what we could see is about 20 plus. So nowadays we are designing not for the factors of 20, etc. Because of the waterfront, particularly ocean front, we keep 5 plus, but earlier structures. So we have been wondering some of the dockyard walls. So how we wonder how they were taken during those days, minus 50 and the founding level. So those things, of course, we have advanced both material as well as the construction practices that we have to take it so to the next in the future. So with this, I think I conclude. Thank you.
So we will now move on to the, thank you, Dr. Sannasiraj, for a very illuminating summing up of the talk. And you covered some additional points as well on the importance of inland water transport and the challenges faced by the lock gate and marine structures, which you are the expert on and we are all familiar with. The cost challenges also. So I think we can move on to the question answer session. As I can see, there are already 2 questions on the chat box. I can just read them out for the benefit of the audience. Both are quite similar. One is from Mr. Srinivas Rao. The question pertains to the fact that NSD and STPL, are they suitable for the latest methods of construction and repair? That is, I think, in some ways it was covered by Mr. Sanil Peter. Probably Sanil, if you can cover that as well. Once again.
Yeah. When we talk about the Hooghly docks, the Hooghly dock, whatever facility was existing, except one shop, everything has been demolished because we found that it is beyond economic repair or rebuilding. And it's like as good as a brand new shipyard is coming up there. So we are designed the shipyard such a way that the modern systems, modern construction technologies can be implemented there. And coming to NSD, the dock as such, it's perfectly dry. The MDP, the main discharge pump, although it is 100 years old, it is working perfectly. We are doing routine maintenance, and also we are studying the possibility of upgrading it. Maybe we will now the breakers, the electrical systems are oil cooled breakers and all, which are 100 years old, and it's very difficult to maintain. So now we are in the process of coming up with a proposal for upgrading the electrical system, and then also possibly changing the MDP at a later stage. And the cranes on the dock side, they are limited. They are derated, and it's only giving us a few tons of capacity. So right now we are working with mobile cranes for the time being, but we are in the process of installing new cranes, tower cranes and all. And in fact, I was in discussion with Professor Sannasiraj for some strength analysis for the NSD dock. Though the units are very old, the latest methods of construction can be easily adopted there. With some little bit NSE, with some kind of infrastructure development, we can easily implement the new technology, new repair technologies there. And HTPL, there is no problem because it is as good as a brand new shipyard now.
Okay. The second question is from Mr. Prashant Goyal, who's worked in PW and STP. He was again mentioning about the fact that something which you also touched upon, Sanil, regarding the fact that both the yards are really fairly old, actually older than an understatement. We're talking about a couple of centuries. The slip-based equipment. So how much CSL is investing into these two yards for the modernization? I think some part has been covered earlier, but yes, nevertheless, if you can give us some figure.
We are planning to develop these two units, Nasirganj and Salika, in a phased manner. Right now, we have developed the Nasirganj unit where the shipyard is ready for operation. And Nasirganj itself, we are doing it in two phases, operational phase and expansion phase. The operational phase is what you have seen in the picture. And in the expansion phase, as I told you earlier, one more, the side launch facility will be coming, and one more jetty will be coming in. So as of now, the Nasirganj facility, which is ready, the investment is like 150 crores. And Salkia, we will be doing the development in the coming years only. Once how we will be seeing how the business is going up, because in Salkia there are restrictions like the air draft restrictions, which are processing because of the Howrah bridge. So we cannot handle bigger vessels there. So as of now, the development is only on Nasirganj, and which is costing us 150. And when we talk about NSD, the plan is that we are planning to invest around 50 crores over the first 5 years. So this is the third year, and we have spent almost 25 to 30 crores, out of which the main investments are a new caisson gate, which will be used as an intermediate caisson gate. Right now, we had to flood the entire dock. Dock number 1 and dock number 2, we had to flood completely. It takes around 4 hours to flood, and dewatering it takes around 6 to 7 hours. So once we have the intermediate caisson, then we can independently operate the docks, and then that gives us a lot of flexibility. So the tendering process and everything is over. Now we'll be awarding the work soon. And other infrastructure developments coming in NSD is the cranes. Existing cranes are derated. It can handle only up to 2 to 3 tons, and those cranes doesn't move all the way, and so the full length of the dock is not covered because the tracks are damaged. There used to be a 25-ton crane, but what I came to know from the porter's employees are that around 10 years back it fell into the dock. So right now there are three cranes, but it's all giving us only 2 to 3 tons of capacity. So we are coming up with the tower cranes to start with, and we will also engaging IITs for evaluating the strength so that we can utilize the existing crane tracks, and a level of crane can be, a mobile crane can be installed over there. And other than that, all supporting equipments like compressors, various pumps. There is no proper firefighting system, fire main system existing there. Especially when we are docking in naval vessels or coast guard vessels, it is a compulsory thing that we need to have a fire line of 7 bar pressure. So that is also in discussion. The proposal is being worked out. So that will be coming up. So all the support services which are required for the ship repair, that is being planned, and over the next 5 years, we'll be investing something of the line 50 crores. And Andaman, basically, we are only doing the operation and management, and we are also coming up with a DPR. We are engaging one of the consultants. The tendering stages are in the final stages. So we'll be engaging one of the PSU consultants, and we'll be developing a DPR, and the investment will be done by the administration. We will be managing and helping them. CSL is not directly investing in that case, but government is investing under the Sagamala project. There is already, I believe, 100 crores is already allocated for this particular development of a marine dockyard. So that is the kind of investment which we are looking into.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sanil Peter. Is there any other questions from the audience?
So there are a few questions in the question and answer box.
Okay.
You can see them, and there are 6 questions there.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So one is from Mr. Ajit Shinoy. What is the vision for shipbuilding and ship repair? What the shipbuilding output of what type, for which customers, what investments in new technology are needed? Mr. Sanil Peter, you could probably answer this.
Yep. As I mentioned earlier, the Hooghly Cochin Shipyard Limited in Sannasiraj, that is dedicatedly for shipbuilding, and other units like the NSD and Andaman one. These are dedicatedly for ship repair. So as far as the building is concerned, we are looking into inland waterways sector, and also the vessels which were required for Bangladesh, which are going to be plying in the protocol routes. These are the main clients what we are looking into. Apart from that, there are naval vessels and defense vessels also is a prospective project what we can consider. And repair in the eastern region, as you know, there are. I'm not saying that there are no ship repair facilities in Calcutta or not, but there are no organized facilities in Calcutta region. If you go to Falta and other areas, there are small ship repair firms who basically do the beaching of the vessels. During the high tide, they dig up and then they make a bund sort of thing, and then they do repairs. I have even seen a shipyard where a vessel of 80-meter length was constructed this way, and which is now operational. So, but there is no organized shipbuilding or ship repair activities going on in the region. So,
may I request Professor Shenoy to unmute and ask any question if he wishes to?
I think Mr. Peter has answered it very, very well. I just compliment Cochin Shipyard for the fantastic efforts that they're doing, and I wish them good luck. So all the best for the future.
Is Mr. Govil would you like to say anything? Because Mr. Govil is with Shipyard Association of India. So if you kindly unmute yourself and clarify the query that you may have.
Nothing very specific, but I just wonder what the maximum size of vessel they can build in these 2 years. HDP, draft, and what the air height, how the draft of the vessel.
Okay. Yeah, in fact, compared to the present day international shipping, the size of the shipyards over there on the Hooghly, they can possibly only match in very small size but high value products, which have a completely different kind of the management and design requirement. So the big ships which can be built, which run on international shipping, possibly cannot really be built there on a merchant ship scale. Anyway, I leave that to you. Thank you, sir.
I think Mrs. Sanil had mentioned that he is able to build ships up to about 120 and repair ships up to about 120 meters long.
Yeah, with the first phase, we can handle up to 90 meters. And once the expansion phase comes, that is, once the side launch facility is ready, we can go up to 120 meters.
That's quite impressive, actually. And okay, I'll come to the next question, which is from Dr. Kamal Palit. I think he's worked with the SDP 1965 onwards, and later with SCI as a director. So he's asking, when can we start? When do you start the work as SDPW, so that he would like to visit the facility there? He also mentioned that SDP had built 2 landing craft in the Indian Navy, which is absolutely right. The landing craft continued in service until quite recently. We de-inducted them only in around 7 years back. until such time these vessels, landing crafts were in service with the Indian Navy. Yeah, Mr. Sanil is asking about when can he visit? When can you take?
Yeah. As I told you earlier, Mr. Pale, the facility is ready for operation, and the pending, the official inauguration is pending, waiting for clearance from PM office.
Yeah, but when can you take him for a visit to the yard, because he's worked there in 1965.
You
Probably
please
should
contact
invite
me.
him for
You
the
please
inauguration as well.
right now I'm in Cochin. I'll be back in Kolkata next week. You please contact me. We will arrange.
Mr. Govil wants to say something. He's raised his hand.
I don't want to say both Mr. Palit and myself. We were
Yes.
in the OTA work, and that time built 2 landing craft for the Navy, utility type. It was I think quite a big one, about 180 feet long that time. Yeah.
Mr. Palit would like to unmute and raise a question if you wish to.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, sir?
We lost the connection briefly, so I don't know.
I worked there for about 8 to 9 years, and during that time.
Are we all back on?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you. Yeah.
During 1965 to 1973, I worked for about 8 years, and during that period, we built, Mr. Govil, Mr. Nakra, they were also there. We built 40 to 50 small ships, launches, tugs for almost all port trusts of India. Then I joined SCI and rose up to director's level. And during that period, I again took delivery of the first bulk carrier, Rani Padmini from CSL. So my question, as it has been told, that I really like to go and visit SDPW. And if you let me know, I live in Kolkata, and I will give my telephone number in my chatterbox, so that when you come here, if you let me know, I would like to join and go to SDP and see the workshop. It was really a very, very, very good shipyard.
And just for your information, inside the Nasirganj facility, we are also constructed a model room. In fact, it's a museum. Though we call it model room, it's a museum which showcases the various artifacts from both Nasirganj and Salkia units. There were old maps, then bricks and various equipments, theodolites, which were 100 years old. So all these historically important things we are displaying inside the shipyard, and we have created a museum inside the shipyard.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So would there be any other additional questions?
So we have Mr. Prashant Govil who has raised his hand. If he wants to, yeah.
No, I've already talked to you.
Okay, sure, no problem. And we had Mr. Srinivas Rao, who had raised his hand a little earlier. Sir, if you want to add anything, if you want to ask a question again.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah. Basically, I was looking at from whatever I could hear, you're looking more at the domestic market, where the timelines are not that critical. Are you confirming my observation?
Not really, Mr. Chavali. Basically, the timelines, we are talking to various private players who are also very stringent about the timelines. And one of the commitment which a CSL with its expertise is committing to the prospective clientele is that timely completion of the projects. We are talking to MOL, and also it's a stringent timelines what the private players are looking forward to nowadays.
Yeah, because any commercial line would not like to keep their ship more than a day that is required.
Yes, And as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, we have so far completed 8 repair projects at NSD. And except one project, all the projects were delivered ahead of schedule.
No, when I say the schedules, I would look not from your perspective schedule as with respect to how internationally the vessels are handled.
That is true. We won't be able to match the kind of schedule what Korean shipyards are delivering, but we are trying our level best, and our qualities, the quality standards and timelines also in comparison with European yards or the Gulf region shipyards, you can always compare. But the Korean yards, where they do a series kind of production.
I'm not talking new construction. I'm talking of the repairs.
The repairs, even at a Cochin shipyard, we try to deliver ships on time, and that is one of the reasons why almost 40% of the ship repair revenue is in Cochin shipyards bag. So it's a highly competitive market, and we are CSL is being one of the leading player. So that itself shows that we are matching the timelines. Obviously, there are few slippages, but in Kolkata itself, with the minimum infrastructure, we have been able to deliver ships ahead of schedule.
Okay, thank you.
And one of the Maersk Group, they had done the audit in NSD, and they are ready to sign an MOU with us. We did the repair of their vessel, Switzer Foxtrot, 1 year back, and they were so impressed that they are coming up with their vessel next month, and they are also ready to sign an MOU, long-term MOU with us.
Okay, that's good.
May I add, this is Palit here. I would like to confirm that CSL has been working for the repair work very, very excellently way, because as SCI ships, we used to send our ships quite regularly to CSL, and we found that CSL were completing the job not only in time, but their workmanship was excellent, excellent. As a matter of fact, I was one of the external director of CSL. Thank you.
So, if there are no other questions, Admiral Baburaj, you can give the sum up from your perspective, sir.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sanil, Peter. It's been a outstanding, informative talk that you gave us today on a very apt topic of the ship repairs, which is very usually, it is a less glamorous cousin of the shipbuilding. It's always much more glamorous to have ship built rather than ship repaired. In 2007, the government of India had constituted a working group on shipbuilding and ship repair, and they had produced a kind of a white paper, which incidentally is still available on the net. I just searched on the Google, and then I could find that it is there, and it's been put up on the Niti Aayog website. So that had actually brought out a large number of measures to be adopted by the industry and by the government to improve the shipbuilding and ship repair. And we can see from the talk which Mr. Sanil Peter has given today that Cochin Shipyard has really taken the lead in this aspect, reviving some of the what we used to consider as sick units in the public sector, and both in Kolkata, in Guwahati, in Andaman. Andaman facility, I personally have seen it myself, and it is a fantastic facility which was set up very long back in a strategic location, and unfortunately it had gone to much disuse and disrepair over the years. I'm very glad that the Cochin Shipyard is taking all steps to reinvigorate the entire ship repair process at the Andaman Islands. And it's very interesting to note that they also are spending time, money, and effort in Guwahati, which is another nodal point of the inland water transport network, the Waterway 1, National Waterway 1, as it was to be called. So he covered his entire lecture, starting with the shipping in India, which as he mentioned, that which is quite low number of bottoms that we are holding in the national register, about 1,429 ships, and all of them average age of something like 20 years. So there is huge potential for the ship repair and shipbuilding. And he covered the history of the shipyards along the Hooghly River, very interesting topic. How the British had brought about sea change in the 18th century. Started the SDPL in 1819, which ran successfully almost until 1980s, as Mr. Palit had just brought out, delivering ships to not just the Merchant Marine, but also the Indian Navy. He also mentioned about the interesting fact that the largest RAdm facilities in the country are at Kolkata region, which actually we have not been able to fully utilize for ship repairs over the years. GRSC, of course, has been set up in 1884 and has been delivering a large number of vessels. The Navy ourselves we have received over 107 ships from GRSC. And the interesting fact he brought out was something like 4,000 ships construction and repair were undertaken during the World War II, which is a phenomenal amount of effort that has gone in. So it just goes to show that if there is a will, there is a direction. The demography of Kolkata region, the geography of the Kolkata region can actually produce wonders. So it's a fair thing that CSL has stepped in to revive these facilities. And he also very nicely and covered the scientific method by which Cochin Shipyard went about understanding the market value of the market potential of this region, the factors for setting up a shipbuilding facility, the transportation, logistics, environment, the electricity, power. He mentioned about the fact that West Bengal is a power surplus state. The climatic conditions are not too bad. There limited cyclonic activity which can be overcome. The bore tide, which he mentioned, I personally have experienced it in the month of I think March, a couple of years back. It's a very interesting phenomenon. It's almost like a tourist event. The skill set which is available, the labor availability, and as well as the most important factor of the IIT, Kharagpur, and other education institutions which are available there, who are into shipbuilding, naval architecture. Suppliers are available, general industries. In fact, as he mentioned, the Kolkata region was the marine hub of the country in the 19th century. And there is obviously adequate workshops available. We just need to revive and make use of it. Local community attitude was very happy to note from Mr. Sanil Peter that there is a very supportive local community, including the state government, who are aiding them in the revival process. Very important factor. The marine factors of the fluctuating draft and the dredging requirements were well covered by him, which is also the reason. I mean, it's also an important factor on the west coast of India. The quality and safety system challenges which he brought out, and as others also, Mr. Palit also brought out that Cochin Shipyard has a very strong quality and also a safety culture. I'm glad that we are able to bring it into the Kolkata facilities as well. The assessment of the STPL and the NSD by CSL has been quite scientific method. We nicely covered those aspects, how the repairs of the facilities versus replacement, the reverse bathtub curve, he has really covered it nicely. The market analysis about how the Gel Marg Vikas project, which is about a 5,000 crore infusion to the marine sector, how we can make full use of it. He also mentioned about the fact that 1% of the global ship repair market is what India is currently cornering, while nearly 10% of the global traffic is passing through our neighborhood. In fact, this is also covered in the working group report of 2007, which I had mentioned. he mentioned about the fact that up to 120-meter vessels repair is feasible, which gives the Navy, Coast Guard, and large number of inland waterways very good facility available at Kolkata. The glimpses of redevelopment was really enlightening. You know how Cochin Shipyard has transformed the entire look of the place through some photographs. He's also, CSL is able to provide about direct employment to about 500 people, but in my understanding, indirect employment is about 10 times that. You know, you're looking at about 5,000 plus people who are going to get employed as and when the ship repair facility is full-fledged utilized. And in spite of the pandemic, it was interesting to note that since 2019, about 55 crore revenue could be generated by CSL. It just goes to show that the scientific method by which CSL went about doing the market analysis, as well as the infusion of technology, has really paid dividends. He mentioned about the marine dockyard at Port Blair, as well as the ship repair facility, which is coming up at Guwahati. I think these are really sea change in the East Coast as far as ship repairs is concerned. And they are force multipliers for the inland waterways, particularly the Guwahati ones. And Chief Guest Dr. Sannasiraj also covered the importance of the inland water transport, the marine infrastructure challenges, including the lock gate, the cost challenges. So overall, I think the audience has got a very good understanding about how, and also the fact that many of these units which are available, India has got about 12 major ports, but there are, what I remember is over 128 minor ports. I think there is this is a lesson that if we invest sufficiently, like what CSL has done, we can revive a large number of them. Our 7,000 plus mile coastline can be effectively utilized. I once again thank the organizers, Institute of Naval Architect, and as well as the other audience for and the question and answer session, which actually was revealing. And I didn't know that so many of the audience actually worked in this place. So thank you very much once again, and over to Dr. Iyengar.
Thank you, sir. It was a very good summary of today's session. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks. My first thanks is to the chief guest, Professor Sannasiraj, who, as soon as I requested him to be the chief guest for this session, he readily agreed. That's also equally to Admiral Baburaj and Sanil Peter. And his lecture today was the post lecture of Mr. Sanil Peter. He had extended and offered some very interesting comments regarding docks and lock gates, which was very illuminating and added more knowledge and strength to the lecture. Admiral Baburaj, as I told, as soon as I called him a week back and requested him to chair the session, he really accepted the invitation. And as we see, has excellently summarized the session and used his naval experience was visible. And Mr. Sanil Peter, yes, we knew him. Incidentally, he's my classmate from Cochin University days, but we have not been in touch for about a decade. So then I just thought that this would be an interesting topic. And when I came across him 2 weeks back and requested, he readily agreed. And he has actually covered the history as well as the contemporary topics in ship repair in East Coast. A very good lecture. And that also shows that he's right away in Kochi in spite of handling all these things. And there is also an Indian boat and marine show, which Cochin Shipyard is active. I don't know what role he plays, but still I was able to spare today's evening for this lecture. Thank you, Mr. Peter. And this would have also been enhanced by the audience, and particularly those who added value by the question and answer sessions. Professor Chennai, Mr. Srinivas Rao, Mr. Govil and Mr. Palit, who enlightened the question and answer sessions and made the discussions very lively. I thank them, very special thanks to them. And Mr. Dasgupta, who has always been our advisor and backing us very well. And Mr. Amir, who has quietly and seamlessly coordinated this session, that we didn't have any problems, both connectivity or any such issues. And nicely coordinated Mr. Amir and the INA office. And all who had listened to this lecture. Thank you, everybody. And we can, I would suggest that the permission of the chief guest from the chair, I would request whether we can close this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.